the coaching, I both coached Griffin and Dylan in youth football, but that had just ended. It was Dylan's season had just ended, and when Griffin passed away, and so then, as I said, my mom, she had prior to Griffin passing away, though, it was a Mother's Day, actually the day after Mother's Day that very year, she found out she had stage 4 uterine cancer. And so she survived just a lethal surgery where they removed a lot. And so she somehow survived that, only to 8 months later pass away. And so there was kind of a rough time there where, for me, it felt like everybody was going, nobody was coming.
Yeah.
And so, I that led me to a serious bout of depression, to the point where in August of 2015, I actually shot myself and in the head, underneath the chin, and with the intention of not being here. And so, as I look back now, everything I didn't have to live for, I now have to live for. And so it was just a period of time where life was tough, and it was, once you get down, what my experience is, once I got down that low, it didn't feel like it was ever going to end, and unless I ended it.
Hey everybody, it's Aldo Gandia, and I just want to let you know really quickly that our swag shop is reopened. DeepDishTees.com is where you go, and that's tees with T-E-E-S. Clever name, guys. They're the new home of our merchandise. You can get t-shirts, you can get caps, you can get coffee mugs, you can get hoodies, you can get all sorts of good stuff, and you'll help out the bar room with the purchase. So head over to DeepDishTees.com. Welcome everyone to our brand new show, The Bear Debate. So clearly this is the first time you've seen this show, because this is the very first show. And in future shows, we will be doing them live. But because this is our premiere show, we wanted to do it recorded first and get out some of the kinks. So this show is going to be highly combative. Why? Because we have two of the most emotional, passionate Bears fans in the planet talking about Chicago Bears football. And I can't wait for this thing to get started, because these guys are going to bring fire and passion to our Bears coverage unlike anyone else that I can think of. These guys are, of course, Tyler Ellis. Let me bring him in. How are you, brother?
Hey, good morning. Hey, hi, Aldo. How's it going, brother?
Oh, it's going great, man. Tyler, of course, is one of the co-hosts of Bear Football, which you can see immediately after every Chicago Bears game. Plus, he also does C-Red Radio with his two brothers, which covers the Chicago Bulls, and he does tons of other programming here on the Barroom Network. He is a highly esteemed member of the team. Love you, brother. And I also love this man. His name is John Buffone. Look at him. He is ready to spar. He is ready to bring in that knockout punch. John Buffone, of course, the host of Buffone 55, which is starting its 5th season here on the Barroom Network. 5 seasons. And if you have never watched Buffone 55, you have been denying yourself a treat. It previews every upcoming Chicago Bears game. Plus, it offers the fire and rants of John Buffone, who is a lifelong sufferer of the Chicago Bears. How are you, John?
I'm doing good, Aldo. I'm so excited about this show. There's going to be so much energy. It's all going to be love. We're going to get into some debates. We're going to get into some arguments, but we know it's all in good fun on this network, man.
That's right. It is all in good fun, but it's also about something that we're all very passionate about, the Chicago Bears. What do we do all season long when there's not Chicago Bears football? We sit around and think and talk about Chicago Bears football. Tyler and I were just talking about that before we went live. It is such a passion that we all have, and this show is for passionate Bears fans. So let's get started. We have 60 seconds to respond to one question that I'm going to offer. The first question will go to one of our fighters, for lack of a better way of putting it. He's got 30 seconds to respond, and then the other person jumps in with his response. At the end of those 60 seconds, we'll talk a little bit about the responses offered up. So who should we begin with first? I'm going to say the first person is going to be Tyler Ellis that I'll pose the question to. And here it comes. Don, remember, you've got to jump in at that 30-second mark. If he's still talking, talk right over him, all right?
Got it.
Man, did you see that forearm?
It's massive. It's pretty massive.
All right. Let's start, of course, with the elephant in the room. Rookie quarterback Justin Fields. He appeared to outplay Andy Dalton, the anointed starter, in every preseason game. And the Bears fans are wondering why head coach Matt Nagy has not finally pulled the trigger and let the rookie franchise quarterback take the reins. So I'll ask you first, Tyler, what week does the Justin Fields era begin? And remember, again, you got 30 seconds and it begins now.
Respectfully, I'm going to say Justin Fields' career will start week 1 of next season. I say that because I have to have faith in who our starting quarterback is. Why is that? Because the 22, 23-year-old Justin Fields also has confidence in the starting quarterback. And so it's hard to go against another Bear because I want Dalton to do good. And so other than that, week 1 next year, Aldo, that's what I'm going with.
2022, are you out of your mind? We're going to wait an entire year for this? I thought I was being lenient when I was going to say week 4 because I think Andy Dalton is going to get annihilated in week 1. I mean, they might win. They can win, but I think Andy Dalton struggles in week 1, but he gets a very gratuitous pass by Matt Nagy. He bounces back against Cincy in the second game and then gets pulverized against Cleveland, and that's when Justin Fields comes in week 4 at home against the Lions. You're telling me, Tyler, I got to wait until September of 2022 to see Justin Fields in the game? A year?
I almost choked on my coffee when I heard him say next year. Tyler, really? Next year? Why next year? I don't get that.
I called an audible because to say I want to go with week 5, but that would mean I'm waiting for Andy Dalton to mess up. I can't go into a Chicago Bear football game and say, yeah, Harry, but throw some picks so the other guy can come in. It just doesn't seem right in my opinion. And so I want I just feel like the more games that Andy can win, the more chances. Justin Fields, respectfully so, by the grace of God, will be our quarterback for the next 10 years.
John,
Fields should only play if Dalton's not winning games.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that certainly wasn't Matt Nagy's approach last year when he benched a quarterback that was winning games. That your boy, he who will not be named on this podcast. But honestly, I understand your point of if Dalton's playing well, they're going to win games. I just can't imagine a scenario where the Bears are going to wait an entire year. And I know I said that Andy Dalton was going to get crushed week 1. that I'm not saying the Bears can't win that game. I just think that he's going to struggle mightily in that game. So I think that he is on a 3-game leash. He's set up to fail. He's set up to fail at this point. It's not about when Justin Fields is ready. It's about when Andy Dalton will fail.
John, and I got to tell you, we're not live for this show, but if we would have been live, I would have been reading a lot of comments, even about waiting till week 4. We've got a lot of thirsty Justin Fields fans who want him starting in week 1. Just a quick supplemental question that's not in our playbook here. Do you think we'll see Justin Fields week 1 in some sort of package, maybe a goal line package, maybe one of Matt Nagy's trick plays or anything like that? John, I'll start with you first.
If we do, then it's an indictment of that Justin Fields is actually ready to play then. If you're ready to put him in the game, you're ready to do all this trick stuff, or you're ready to do special packages for Justin Fields, then he's ready to play. What are you waiting for? Just because you made a promise to Andy Dalton that he has to be in there, you don't put special packages in for Justin Fields and you have special plays for him. If he's your quarterback and he's ready to be in the game, let him play. If not, he should probably be the third stringer behind Nick Foles. But it sounds like he's ready to play.
Tyler, what do you think?
I feel like Justin Fields will be on the field sometime this season. I do feel like there will be some plays in there. It's Matt Nagy. That's who I have the biggest question marks with, respectfully, out of Andy and Justin. It's Nagy that concerns me, respectfully. But I feel like there will be some plays. I don't know if it'll be week 1. I want to keep him away from Aaron Donald as possible. But at the same time, I don't want to put bubble wrap around him. Justin is a winner. Justin could take a big blow, take the wind knocked out of him, come back and throw a touchdown strike. So I like the fighter and the dog we got.
All right. Let's get now on to question number 2. And then, John, you will start this round, okay? Let's stick with the quarterback position. Reportedly, the Bears will listen to trade offers for the third stringer on this football team at the quarterback position, Nick Foles. But they won't trade him anywhere. He does not want to go. That being said, do the Bears owe Nick Foles that courtesy? John, the clock starts right now.
Let me be clear. They owe this guy nothing. I feel like we're going to agree on this one, Tyler, but they traded a 4th-round pick for him. He didn't get the job done. Did the offensive line struggle in front of him? Of course, but this guy could not play dead in a Western for the most of 2020. So he's made $75 million in his career. He's got a Super Bowl ring, a Super Bowl MVP. He's got a friggin' statue in Philadelphia. I don't think it's up to the Chicago Bears to play wingman for Nick Foles moving forward. I know he's a high-character guy, but he doesn't want to be in Chicago. Trade him somewhere like Dallas, where they have a bad backup quarterback situation.
I agree with your brother. If anything, the Bears could be recouping some money because we are paying him a lot of money. But at the end of the day, that's what happens when you win a Super Bowl. People, you get paid more than your value. But I do like Nick Foles as an individual. He always shows up when the game, like in the preseason. Give him to the Colts. I feel like the Colts can actually use him. There might be some teams out there that you got some teams dealing with some COVID QB stuff. But do we owe him anything? Absolutely not.
Excellent. Well, I got to tell you guys that the issue here is every team in the NFL that needs a quarterback and has been eyeing Nick Foles, they're just waiting for the Bears to drop him. They don't want to trade even a 7th-round draft pick. Is my gut feel on this situation. John, what do you think? Do you think that teams like the Colts, who might be interested in Nick Foles, despite some reports that there really are not, do you think they're just waiting for the axe to fall and then swoop up Nick Foles?
Well, if a team is waiting on Nick Foles, which seems silly at this point, but if a team is waiting on Nick Foles, then yeah, they're gonna say, why would we give up a 6th or 7th round draft pick and take on that contract? Let's just let the Bears get rid of him. They probably can pay him less if they sign him as a free agent, and they don't have to give up any draft picks. Or they're gonna go. Not to mention a guy like Cam Newton's still around looking for a job, and he's a free agent. You don't got to give up anything for him other than what you're gonna pay him. I think that this guy's probably going to ride the bench for the majority of the year.
And Tyler, let me ask you, in that final preseason game, Nick Foles played very well. And again, it's against 2nd and 3rd stringers. In fact, some of those guys on the football field that he played against and did very well against aren't even in the NFL right now. But do you think that he enhanced his trade value at all, or his value, let's just say his personal playing value, because he had not looked so good previously?
whether he did or not, I feel like the Bears can leverage that because at the end of the day, tape is tape. And he was throwing some rockets. He threw some rockets in traffic for touchdowns in the red zone. At the end of the day, every organization you want labor for the cheap amount of money. You want high quality without paying them most. So yeah, they don't want to trade them, but guess what? They want to start. They want to go to the playoffs. And so they might not want to trade for him, but the Bears can still leverage that. The Bears are in a good position because we don't have to cut them. You want a starting quarterback. You want a mentor. You want somebody who's been successful in your locker room. We have it. You don't. How much you willing to give up for it?
John, you want to rebut on that at all, or should we move on?
Real quick, I don't think the Bears are ever going to leverage. No one's going to be like, well, we really, really need Nick Foles. And the Bears are going to be like, not for that price. No. I think the Bears would trade him for a washing machine right now. But
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
It is going to be really interesting to see. Who knows? In 17 weeks from now, we could be saying, boy, it was a good thing we didn't let Nick Foles go, because something happened to the other two quarterbacks. He came in and provided at least a good half. That could happen.
He's a good relief pitcher. I'll give him that. He's real good coming off the bench. So if he has to start the second half for all the games, okay, fine.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to question number 3, and this time, Tyler, you will lead us off. We know that Matt Nagy has been very, very clear about the Andy Dalton situation. There are plenty of theories circulating about why Nagy feels he can wait for Dalton to fail to put in Justin Fields. But that leads to the question here. Is Matt Nagy actually on the hot seat this season? So, Tyler, it's all yours. Take it away.
I 1,000% believe Matt Nagy should be on the hot seat this season, because how many different quarterbacks, how many chances of proper leadership are we going to give an individual, because we have players that are going to be out of their prime soon. And so not just with the quarterback, how he's handled the quarterback position, but at the end of the day, nobody's asking the really serious question. What are you going to do to win games? What are you going to do to put points on the board? You were with Patrick Mahomes. You were with Alex Smith. I'm tired of hearing about these Aesop's, these old stories. What are you going to do today to get the Bears to be scored over 25 points a game?
Listen, once again, I think what I think and what I want are two very different things. Should he be on the hot seat? Yes. Do I think he is on the hot seat? No. Even before the Bears drafted Justin Fields, you could tell that Ted Phillips and the McCaskey family really didn't want to say anything negative about Matt Nagy or Ryan Pace. It was all about this collaboration stuff. And now that he has a rookie QB that he can plug in halfway through the season, that's probably going to buy him some more time. And I just feel like having Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace around Hallis Hall, it's just too comfortable for this family diner that we call the Chicago Bears.
Very interesting.
Family diner, I like that family diner. That was good.
That's how it's run. You know, your brother can't cook, but he's still the guy behind the oven making the burnt grilled cheese. I can't fire him. I like him too much. He's a good guy to have around.
Hey, 5 points for John. That was good.
Do you guys, I mean, is there any confidence at all in Andy Dalton here? I mean, I know Tyler's going to say yes, of course, because he's Mr. Hope. He's Mr. I know something good's going to happen. So go ahead, Tyler. Tell us why I should have hope. Why, John? Tell John why he should have hope in Andy Dalton.
AJ Green would not be AJ Green without Andy Dalton. Those are just the facts. At the end of the day, when he came in to take care of Dak, he was still productive. With the line of scrimmage. And why should we have hope? He didn't play with his offensive line the entire preseason. At the end of the day, he has still – Bears wanted to see Justin Fields, but are they ready for the learning curve that Fields will have to go through? And so Andy has gone through that curve throughout the course of the game. At the end of the day, Andy proved me wrong. Prove me wrong, bro. Like prove me wrong. You're my starting quarterback. They brought you here, red hair. He's fired up. I just want to see it. If not, then okay, cool. Because John? At the end of real quick, John, at the end of the day, Andy Dalton is playing for the rest of his career. This opportunity right here, this is going to set you up to whatever team you're going to go to. His agent would be able to leverage. You're playing with an Allen Robinson, top 100 in the NFL, a Darnell Mooney, and then you got Cole Kmet. You got some people going to their prime, and so Andy Dalton doesn't really have that many excuses.
Yeah, I agree. And I honest to God, I feel bad for Andy Dalton. I'm going to cheer for the guy. I want him to succeed. He is being put in a really bad situation. I know this was probably one of his few opportunities to start for a team, but looking back on it now, this is just you are on a short leash, and the first interception thrown at Soldier Field, there are going to be the boo birds. They're going to be chanting Justin Fields' name, regardless of what Justin Fields tells the fans not to boo or whatever. They're going to be calling for Justin Fields the second that Andy Dalton has some kind of mishap, an underthrow, an interception, takes a sack, whatever it is, he is set up to just get torched in front of some of those fans. And I do feel bad for him. I want him to succeed. If Tyler is forecasting that Justin Fields isn't going to start until next year, then I would love to see Andy Dalton have a great season to go out on as far as his Bears career goes. But I just do feel bad for him.
Quick question, John. Tyler said that AJ Green wouldn't be AJ Green without Andy Dalton. Do you agree with me when I say AJ Green would be better if he had another quarterback?
Yeah, I can see that.
I'm just joking.
Yeah, no. I mean, you're not wrong. Andy Dalton is what he is. He's not top shelf, and he's also not garbage either. So it's you know what it is. It's just that good old, I guess, reliable Andy Dalton, reliable in the sense that you know what you're going to get.
Yeah,
That's right.
I mean, totally reliable. I mean, Bears fans, we have quarterbacks throwing skipping rocks before. And
You're right.
Like if you look at AJ Green's stats and you look at that Cincinnati, it was more on the coach and the design. But Andy Dalton, somebody had to throw AJ Green the ball. We couldn't even get a first down consecutively.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at the quarterbacks, real quick, Aldo, but looking at the quarterback situation, it's better than it was last year.
Amen.
And it's better than it was a couple years ago. Andy Dalton is above what the Bears have had for the last couple of seasons. And Tyler, that's an entire different question that we're not even going to bring up here. As far as how he can run the offense, he's probably better than the quarterback situation they've had in the last couple and forever, for at least a long time.
All right, you guys have used the word reliability. Well, the offensive line has proven so far in the preseason games to be far from reliable. And for periods last year, they were totally unreliable. And the big problem is that the projected starting left tackle, second round pick, Tevin Jenkins, is out for the foreseeable future with back surgery. And the line as a whole just looks shaky. So we can't break down the entire line. So on a scale from 1 to 10, where is your panic level with the Bears offensive line? John, take it away.
Aldo, I'm going to have to say about 7. I was a lot more confident in May than I am now. I don't love that Jenkins had to have back surgery before he even took a snap in the NFL. I'm not overly confident in the right side of the line, and I'm certainly not comfortable that we're banking on a 40-year-old, soon-to-be 40-year-old left tackle that has a recent history of injuries, and he's going to be protecting the quarterback's blind side. If only they had a mobile quarterback back there that could make some plays with his legs. Do the Bears have anyone like that, Tyler? I'm not sure.
I believe they do. And we're definitely looking forward to seeing them next year for sure. But panic level, I would say a very, very cautiously 6 to 8, because the offensive line has not been together the starting offensive line hasn't been together all preseason. So we really don't know. Andy Dalton doesn't even know what he's going to get. But hopefully it goes back to having faith in the system. But I definitely am very panicky at 7 to 8 as well.
There you go. All right. Interesting response. This offensive line to me is at a 10. I'm just super panicked. I really do believe that we're going to get a slow start from the offensive line. It should progressively get better. But to start against Aaron Donald and that Rams defense, it's going to be a tough assignment. Hopefully Juan Castillo is going to work some miracles, but we'll see. I don't know. John, do you have faith that Juan Castillo, because in all the Bears press conferences, when talk of the offensive line comes up, the first name brought up is Juan Castillo. He's not on the field, but that's almost every time they talk about improvement, the name Juan Castillo. What's your confidence level in the Bears offensive line coach?
Well, the coach can only take you so far. I mean, he can coach you up, but if all it took was the coach, then you'd have a bunch of potato sacks out there. So I would like to believe that Juan Castillo can get the most out of these guys, but this is also a season of attrition. If the Bears suffer another injury on the line, which they were beaten up to hell and before in training camp, and then they started getting some guys back, they lose one or two guys like they kind of did last year, they're in big trouble. They're already on shaky ground. They're one injury away from really, really taking a step back as far as what this line can do to protect Andy Dalton, the most fleet of feet, don't you know?
Tyler, your thoughts on Castillo? What's your confidence level on the offensive line coach?
I mean, he's had a Hall of Fame career in terms of, like, that's one of the reasons why Mr. Peters is going to the Hall of Fame, because he was under his tutelage. And so I just want to see it develop, as he did that before, but now we have some young players. We have young players. Can he develop them? I mean, in the media, they keep asking, what does he bring to the team? What does he bring? Yo, how does he put players in position to make a difference? Stop asking all these other emotional questions. How is he going to stop this guy from hitting that guy? That's what I want to know. These are the questions. So sometimes it's frustrating hearing the media ask these questions. But Mr. Castillo, I just want to see the philosophy on Sunday.
There you go. All right. We will see what happens this Sunday night, and we'll be talking about it next week on the Bear Debate. All right. My final question before we go to another portion of the show is this one. And Tyler, you will start us off. Going into week one, the Rams are a 7.5 favorite. This is only one of 3 games in week one that has more than a 7-point spread. So do you think that the spread is fair? Tyler, go ahead and take it away.
I'm taking the Bears. I'm gonna take that parlay because that's a massive victory. But it's Matt Stafford. I mean, I don't know. I'm not like, that's crazy. That is that much. But at the end of the day, the Rams have a phenomenal defense. But I feel like the Bears defense is being undervalued a little bit, so to speak. But I don't want to say it's unfair, but it is funny and weird. But you know what? I'm glad that they're underdogs. Let's go out and prove it. I'm tired of everybody giving us praises and we're not earning it.
I think it's fair. You basically get 3 points for being at home, and then you start checking the boxes. As of right now, the advantage at quarterback goes to L.A. The advantage of offensive line goes to L.A. The receivers, I'll give a slight advantage to L.A. Running backs, I'll give to Chicago. And then you still have Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and Leonard Floyd, who likes to play pretty well against his former team on the opposite side of the ball. I'm not saying the Bears can't win this game. Of course they can win this game. I just understand why the odds makers put this at a 7.5 point spread. I think it's fair. All
right, guys, this is a fantastic start to the show. This 5-round fight between the two of you guys has been a lot of fun. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to do a roundtable discussion. The 3 of us will talk about Bears issues, so it'll be much more structured, but I got a feeling there's going to be a lot more chaos and a lot more fighting between the 3 of you. So between the 2 of you, so we'll be right back after these messages.
It's the Mikey Bet Show, the Mikey Bet Show. Do you know the Mikey Bet Show?
right, welcome back to the Bear Debate with John Buffone and Tyler Ellis. My name is Aldo Gandia. We had a fun first half of the show where the guys sparred off on 5 questions. Now it's a roundtable discussion. These guys, there's no time clock. There's nothing. I'm just going to throw a topic out there and they can jump in and take it. So I won't even ask somebody the question. I'll just throw it out there and you guys jump in, okay? So the first topic is, with the release of Cam Newton, the Patriots have shown confidence in their rookie quarterback, Mac Jones, much like the Jaguars and Jets have done in their rookie quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson. With Matt Nagy holding tight to his convictions to start Dalton, what's your take on how the Bears have handled this quarterback situation?
I'm jumping in. I'm sorry, Tyler, but all like I said before, all this does is prove that it was never about when Justin Fields was going to be ready, because he's ready now. It was never going to be about when Justin Fields was going to be capable of going into the game. It's about, we promised Andy something. Let's wait until he bombs out, and then we'll put Justin Fields in. And the comparison that people are making, we're like, well, for the 49ers, why aren't people torching the 49ers for doing the same thing? Look at the difference in the situations. Jimmy Garoppolo has been in that system for years, took that team to a Super Bowl, and Trey Lance has a chipped finger. So those are very different situations than when you have Andy Dalton, who's barely had enough time to, buy a cup of coffee in Chicago, being outplayed by the rookie in the preseason. All this does is talking about the progression of Justin Fields. He ain't getting any reps in practice leading up to the game. He's running the scout team. How does that help the progression? I don't know.
John, I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. One caveat that's missed: the Patriots saw what they had in Cam Newton last year. And I, for one, saw Cam Newton play horrible at times, like very horrible. I'm like, all due respect to the former MVP, he's broken a ton of records. But I saw Cam Newton not look like Cam Newton. The same Cam Newton who got outplayed by a rookie that kind of respectfully took his job in Carolina. And then they blamed it on some injuries. And so at the end of the day, the only saving grace, I don't want to give Matt Nagy any passes. I don't feel like he deserves any more, respectfully. But at this point right now, the only thing that I can say is they just really want to see what they have in Andy. And if Andy can win some games, it allows Justin to just get adapted to the game some more. But that's really the only difference. The only difference why I'm not bashing Nagy for is because the Cam thing, they saw what they had in Cam. And Cam got pulled from multiple games last year. And so that's a kind of indication. They're like Dallas was happy that they had Andy there when Dak went down.
But Tyler, I want to talk about if the first game of the year, let's just say the Bears end up losing a game where they could have won. Let's say they end up losing 17-10 or the 17-13, but the offense sputtered, couldn't get any momentum, couldn't get anything going. And we're sitting on the post-game show talking about how the offense couldn't do jack. What do you think? What do you think the fan outrage is going to be? What do you think the reaction to that is going to be? You're telling Justin Fields can't score that many points. I'm not trying to say that the Bears are going to bomb out offensively, but we're talking about hypotheticals. If that happens, do you feel comfortable going with Andy Dalton in week 2, knowing that you could have beat the Rams, but you couldn't get anything going offensively? You just let them go against Cincinnati then?
The reason why everybody's excited for Fields, the same reason why I can't wait to have Fields. I can't wait, John. I want Justin to start. But the reason why most people love it because it's about Fields remind me of Donovan McNabb. He can play outside of the system. So regardless of a bad play call, I feel like Justin can make on-field adjustments and say, okay, this guy is open. Let me throw him the ball. Forget about what he's talking about. And so it's that's the excitement part. It's the unorthodox things that we're excited about. But at the same time, that's giving a scapegoat to the head coach who's supposed to be designing a winnable system. And so, like, we're gonna. I don't want to put fire on Dalton due to Matt Nagy's shortcomings. If the offense is sputtering,
it's going to happen.
It was doing it before Andy Dalton got here.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
We've seen Andy Dalton throw bombs to Michael Gallup and all these other guys around the league. We gotta take a step back, and I want to see the formations. How the reason why we're favored as an underdog is because the Rams coaching staff knows how to get people open.
Well, yeah, and not to mention that this is the same thing we were talking about last year, and the notion that you can't put Fields out there against Aaron Donald, you can't put Fields out there against this defense, you can't do it. What happened to the same argument last year when Nick Foles was getting blown off the line because he couldn't move, and everyone's making the argument, hey, if the offensive line is struggling, you got to get Mitch back in there because he can move around, he can make plays with his legs, he's the one who can actually make things whenever everything breaks down around this line, he can move out, he can make plays with his legs. Now the solution is putting Andy Dalton back there whenever you have Justin Fields, who is a superior athlete and has shown that he can make plays with his legs. I hate this, like, you can't put him against Aaron Donald, like Aaron Donald is some kind of mythical creature. Yeah, he's the best defensive player in the NFL, but you can't just play scared. You can't be like, our guys aren't good enough to block Aaron Donald, so we better put Andy Dalton back there. That'll fix it. So I hate that. I hate when people say that. You can't put him in there against the Rams. Oh, and you can't put him in there against Cleveland. Oh, man up. Play the game.
Thanks.
Adjust for it. Don't give me this. Oh, I'm scared to put him back there. Can't do it. It's not like it's the 0-2 Texans when David Carr got sacked like 97 times. It's not that bad. Just scheme it and make sure that you get the ball out of it. You get the ball out of his arm, out of his hands quick.
Spoken like a true Buffone. Excellent job.
I hate being scared.
Next topic is I'm going back to Vegas for the next topic I'd like you guys to address. Last time I looked, the over-under was at 45 points. So I want you guys to talk about whether you think it's going to be a game where there's going to be more than 45 points or less than 45 points. Guys, I want you to help me make my decision on where I'm putting my $50. So take it away.
This is going to be tricky because the one concern that I have with the Bears defense is our secondary. And so that's one of my concerns. But I do feel like our front seven, this is the first time we're going to see our front seven like this in a couple years. And from Ogletree, I feel like he's going to be great to step in. And so I don't think Matt Stafford is, respect. Matt Stafford is cool, but a lot of his famousness is because Calvin Johnson was Calvin Johnson. I feel like that we can get to him. He's had injuries with his back, and we still got Khalil Mack. And so, like 45 points, I feel like the over-under, that's going to be tough. I don't know if I'll play with the over-under. But 20, can the Bears score 24 points? Absolutely. Because why? Darnell Mooney destroyed, respectfully, Ramsey last year. We didn't have a quarterback to give him the ball.
Now, Tyler, if A.J. Green isn't A.J. Green without Andy Dalton, then Calvin Johnson certainly isn't Calvin Johnson without Matthew Stafford. So let's not talk out of both sides of our mouth here. But if the over-under is at 45 points, and I had to literally get my calculator out and see how many points that is per team. That's 22.5 points per team. I think this is going to be a sloppy game to start out because I don't think Matthew Stafford took a snap in the preseason. He's in a new team. I know that he's gelling well with people, and McVay can scheme things or whatever. I think there's going to be a lot of feeling out and getting into the rhythm in that first quarter. So I'm going to, although I'm no Mike North, but I would say take the under on that just because I think you're looking at maybe a 7-0 halftime score or a 6-3 halftime score. I don't see this being, and both defenses are good. So it's not like even if they were in the third or fourth week of the year, these defenses are good. They're gonna hold the other opponent to not astronomical points. So I take the under on that. I can't see both teams scoring 23 points.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait to Mike's show on Thursday at 9:30 p.m. here to get a little bit more intel on
probably a good idea.
Going.
Right. Yeah, don't come to me for that kind of stuff, man.
Okay. Tyler mentioned the defensive backfield, and so this cornerback position for the Bears is the murkiest that I remember seeing it in some time. So I want to get your guys' opinions on where this cornerback position is for the Bears. What's your level of confidence? What do you think about the depth? There's a lot to discuss here, but let's try to get it all in about a minute or two. Okay, guys, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm pretty concerned. We talk a lot about Matt Nagy. We talk a lot about Justin Fields and Andy Dalton. I think this is being swept under the rug because all those other things are a lot more fun to talk about. We can't act like Kyle Fuller's still in Chicago. You got Jalen Johnson, who you hope takes that next step, and I honestly believe he will take that next step. He's got to stay healthy, and then after that, you got Kindle Vildor. Okay, let's see if he can take that step. You cut and re-signed Artie Burns, and then you got Duke Shelley at the nickel, and Xavier Crawford, I think, is still on the team. But that you look at that group of guys, and you're like, you could really sort those outside of Jalen Johnson. You could almost just shuffle them around, and you wouldn't be able to really tell what the depth chart is. So I anticipate there's probably going to be another signing. They did restructure Jimmy Graham's contract around to clear up some cap space. So maybe there's some more cornerbacks coming on the way. You know who does know the system? Prince Amukamara. He's a free agent, and also Jimmy Moreland is also out there as well. They might go out and get a cornerback.
I feel like this is going to be my concern level. Well, all offseason, what does Sean Desai bring to the team? Is he putting guys in position? What does he bring? What about him do you like so much? I can't stand it, John. I just really can't stand it.
I can tell. This really gets at you. I can tell.
So at the end of the day, all this talk, I want to trust that the coach, who was our defensive coordinator, was the secondary coach. He was the DB's coach. So there's an intimate relationship there. I feel like if there was a huge issue, he will be banging the table. Duke Shelley, I do like Duke Shelley. It's not his fault that he went up against Devontae Adams when Devontae Adams was in the slot. That's not fair. But I do feel like Jalen Johnson is going to take a step forward. He did put on some pounds. He did put on some weight. I like our safeties. But John, I'm really, really liking our pass rush. I'm really liking I'm hopeful. Excuse me. I'm hopeful about our pass rush. I'm hopeful that Khalil Mack is going to get some consistent effort on the other side that can help. And to see Akeem Hicks and Goldman play together in the middle, teams are not going to gash us up the middle with the running game. And so I feel like our DBs won't have to cover for 4 to 5 seconds so many times like they did last year.
I like Tyler's point there because your DBs are going to play a lot better if you got a pass rush. And so I'm also worried about this upcoming Sunday night's game. If we don't get a pass rush on Matt Stafford, he's going to carve this team up. So, and that pass rush has to come from the middle of the line. You'll see on Thursday's Bare Truth with Danny Shemin, he's going to break down some tape of Matthew Stafford and how great he has been against the Bears, stepping up into the pocket, stepping into the middle of the rush. And so if the Rams offensive line can hold off the middle of the Bears defensive line, Stafford has a great chance to carve up the Bears. But really like what you're saying there, Tyler. They need a pass rush to help these cornerbacks. That's important. All right, last topic is important to me, and I know a lot of other Bears fans because I live in Arlington Heights, and we have heard a number of stories during the offseason about the Bears potentially moving to Arlington Heights, building a new stadium in the location where the Arlington Park racetrack has been for years. And so the big divide with fans is, do you leave historic Soldier Field for a state-of-the-art stadium in Arlington Heights, or do you stay with tradition and stay at Soldier Field, maybe make some enhancements of the field and so forth? So that's the topic, guys.
Well, listen, I think there's a differentiating viewpoint between those who regularly attend Bears games and those who might only go once a year, once every 2 years, once every 5 years. From what I understand, and Tyler and I are both out-of-staters when it comes to this, so we're looking at this from a 1,000-foot view. But and Aldo, you can go ahead and confirm or deny a lot of these things. But apparently, the parking at Soldier Field is terrible. Apparently, there is a lottery to tailgate. Apparently, there's not a whole lot of stuff to do around Soldier Field. And so if you're asking me, yes, I love the tradition of Soldier Field, but let's not act like the Bears didn't play at Wrigley before that. And they said they never tear down Yankee Stadium. They did. There will never be lights at Wrigley. There is. So let's not talk about, the you have to keep with the tradition, because look at all the other things you can do. I look at a city like Philadelphia, where they have all the stadiums in the same area, and then they have this big hub called Xfinity Live, where people go there 5 hours before the game and they hang out, and there's so much stuff to do there. There's restaurants, there's bars, there's clubs, there's entertainment, there's concerts, and then they can go to the game, and then they come back and they spend another 5, 6, 7 hours after the game at that same spot. I don't think that's capable of where Soldier Field is right now. So maybe you go to Arlington Heights, all of a sudden Chicago, as it is right now, probably couldn't host a Super Bowl. They probably could with this new facility. Maybe you add a casino in there. Maybe you add a concert venue in there. Maybe you put a retractable roof on it. I know that's blasphemy for a lot of Bears fans to think about, but maybe you turn this into a destination area where all of a sudden parking's ample, very accessible. This is going to be a long process, but the end game, I think, might be something that fans will really appreciate down the line.
Hindsight's 2020, and like you said, John, when you take a step back view, downtown Chicago, heck of traffic. We get tradition, but guess what? If it's gonna get us a Super Bowl, let's do it. Like at the end of the day, let's win. Let's win the Super Bowl, and then we'll figure it out. Because, but the management team, the business team has to think about what's best for revenue sales. What's revenue? How can we get more sales?
We know they do that. We know they do that.
And so, like Arlington Heights, Aldo, I've been out to that area. It's beautiful. It's so much space over there. I mean, so it's like you can get out of the congestion of Chicago. They're still going to be Chicago Bears. Like the Redskins, the Washington team, they play down the street. They used to be at JFK in D.C. They're down the street here in Maryland. And so at the end of the day, when they move, we'll get over it because on TV it looks the same. We will miss we will miss the skyline and those things, but at the end of the day, those 60 minutes matter when it's game time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys make great points. And the one thing that if they're going to make this move, they've got to come up with $2 billion. And yes, maybe the state should pay for some of it because it's going to generate some good revenue for the state. But I wouldn't want my $2 billion of Illinois taxpayer money going into a Bear stadium. This has to be partially financed through private investors, the Chicago Bears organization and others. You got to come up with $2 billion because that's what it costs to do the new stadium in Las Vegas, which is gorgeous. And you've got to do it right. You can't do what you did with Soldier Field, which was kind of a half effort to modernize the stadium. So that's my only concern. I wouldn't mind having them in Arlington Heights. I can take a short little drive to a game and maybe even walk over there on a beautiful day. So it would be nice to see that. So and I agree with you, John. Tradition, come on, they play at Wrigley Field.
Yeah, last point I'll make on that is all the people are like, well, they're going to have to call them the Arlington Heights Bears then. Enough with that crap. The Giants and Jets don't even play in the same state that they represent. So don't give me that. They play in Jersey, but they represent New York. So I think people just want to be angry about something. And granted, it's a destination point, Soldier Field, a lot of history there. I get the historical relevance of Soldier Field, but eventually you can't stop progress. And if you want Chicago to be a city that can host a Super Bowl, you got to have ample parking, got to have ample hotels and transit and transportation. All that stuff's taken into account. If you have this big complex in Arlington Heights, perhaps Chicago does host a Super Bowl. And like you said, Aldo, you don't want to get Miami Marlins though. Whenever all the taxpayers are on the hook for this new monstrosity of a stadium, and you're going to be paying for it for the rest of your life. You're like, oh, and that you were promised a product on the field, and that's what you get. So, I completely understand from the taxpayer standpoint. That doesn't affect me out in the East Coast, but it certainly does affect the people of Illinois.
$2 billion. Is that why they're not doing contract negotiations with Akeem Hicks in Colorado? Is that why they're trying to save money? But you know what can help pay for that? If like we talk about everything besides winning. If you win some freaking games and you get some playoff money, you get some play. If the Bears were back to back, like in the NFC contender game, I bet you the state will pay for it because all that TV money. All that stuff, they were like, you know what? Yeah, that's an investment for sure. Because you're going to bring traffic. And so when you get back to winning, it solves it all. And so that's what I would do. Go to the mayor, like, hey, if I bring you Super Bowl, would you pay for it? Like, some type of motivation, some type of incentive. Like that's what it's going to be about. But like you said, Aldo, it goes back to the product on the field. Who wants to? You've been 8-8 for 2 years. What are you talking about? Like, I don't know if you're going to be the head coach. You don't even know who your head coach is. You want me to pay $2 million? No.
Mhm.
All right, guys, great job for this first episode. This was much more entertaining than the Jake Paul Tyrone Woodley fight that I saw on Showtime, the rebroadcast of it this past
Different.
weekend.
That's a different podcast altogether, Aldo. Don't get me started.
Well, yeah, we need to get that podcast started because
Yeah.
you talk about it in the front of the game of boxing, but nonetheless, guys, why don't we finish off with each of you sharing what you're working on and where people can find you on social media. So, John, let's begin with you.
Sure. Really excited to kick this show off. Also, as Aldo alluded to earlier in the show, Buffone 55 kicks off its 5th season. 5 seasons of 55. I'm just stoked. We're starting that this week. It'll be on the Barroom Network across all social media platforms. And also I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we passed off the host role of Pass the Mic. That was a show that Alyssa Barbieri and I worked on very hard last year, a show all about empowering women in sports and sports media. We have handed that off into the very, very capable hands of Peggy Kaczynski, who has hit the ground running with the second season of Pass the Mic. Sarah Spain was her first guest, and I don't want to blow the second guest for you, but it's a really good one as well. It's a name that a lot of Chicagoans and all sports fans will recognize, but really excited about where Peggy Kaczynski can take Pass the Mic. But also, Alyssa and I will be back for Buffone 55, breaking down the Bears' upcoming opponent. We'll be breaking down the Rams this week and see what the chances are that the Bears can come away with a 1-0 record. And of course, after the game, post-game show, Bear Football, all three of us will be on there giving some raw emotional reaction to the Bears game, starting with Week 1 Sunday night against the Rams.
I mean, it's game time, John. It's season time. We've been waiting a long time for this. This is going to be a phenomenal show. I can tell there's going to be a lot of yelling. There's going to be a lot of yelling, but more importantly, Bear Football is going to be phenomenal. But here at the Barroom Network, we got so many awesome things going outside of these shows. Perspective of games that'll be airing every other Wednesday, talking about faith, entrepreneurship, just putting everything on the table, but also being able to share resources. Here, the network is not just about sports; it is about betterment. We're involved with a lot of outreaches in and out the country, particularly Mombasa, Kenya. That was very dear to my father. He started that organization. He helped co-found that organization about 20 years ago, going to Africa every single year. I will be traveling to Africa every single March, and we're pouring into the children of Kenya, getting them access to healthcare, education. We got to tell a classroom of girls, 15 girls, that they get to go to high school, and they were absolutely in tears. And even right now, we're working on some things. We're about to send about 40 computers over there, build brand new classrooms. And guess what? Later on in the week, next show, I'll tell you all how you can help and be a part of that, because we're doing a lot of things, because that's what it's about. Sports brings us together, but we can take something positive back out. You can find me on social media at the_gains_report. You can find me on social media at freedom_gains. And then we'll also have freedomgains.us when we're talking about sports nutrition, anything health related. Me and John, we about that life. We're in the gym. And so, but a lot of these coming at you this season. And don't forget about See Red Radio, Bulls Nation. Definitely expect the Bulls to be a top 5 seed in the East. We got some great, that's what leadership looks like from the front office, John. So
yes,
I'm excited about that. But other than that, man, ready to rock and roll. Bear down.
The Bear Debate debut is in the books. And so I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And guys, I can't wait to talk Bears football with you after the game on, it'll be after the game late Sunday night. So hopefully we'll be talking about a Bears victory and an over score with the Bears scoring the vast majority of the points. Wouldn't that be sweet?
I'd love it.
But for John Buffone and Tyler Ellis, my name is Aldo Gandia. Make sure you join us next week for the episode 2 of the Bear Debate. Bye-bye, everyone.